This is Tim from A61 Wood Seat Sewing Machines, and we're just on changing the needle threader on the PR series. Whether it's the 600 or the 1055 as this one is, the system's basically the same on all of them. So the first thing that we want to do is we need to get access to the needle threader track. The needle threader track is behind these casings here. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the screws on the casings. There's one in the back corner, there's one here, one here, one here and one here. So remove the blanking caps, take all the screws out. We're going to remove these two casings, moving the screws that hold the screen in place. You don't have to take these screws out, but it just makes it easier so that you can get the covers past these. So I've got these screws out, the banking plates out. We'll take the covers off. And they're pretty easy to locate, these, dead simple to remove. Okay, now if you're on screen and you want to select head number 1, so this machine automatically is on head number 1, but otherwise go into your screen selection, select the head, selection for the head, and go to head number 1. Now once you've gone there, get your needle remover and take all the needles out. Now people obviously say, why take them all out? Well, one of them may be one that's bent that's causing the problem. So if you change the needle threader and the needle's still bent, and obviously it's going to bend a new needle threader, so remove all the needles with your needle Allen key. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this one out, and this one is obviously on head number 1. Okay, now we've got the covers off. You can see the needle threader track. This needle threader track drives the needle threader down what's underneath in this track here, and it enables you now to manipulate it by hand. You can see the needle threader coming through forwards. So obviously I want to make sure that that needle's out, so that's the next thing that I'm going to do. But being able to operate this, obviously with the power off now, we can put the needle threader in a position around here that enables us to slide this needle threader off the bar it's located on, which is underneath, and we can show you that in a bit more detail when we take the needle out. Right, so I'm just taking the needle out now. Like I say, remove all the needles out, because obviously you don't know if any of the needles are bent. If you put a new needle threader in, it's just going to bend a new one. So now when I manually move the needle threader on the track, you can see the needle threader coming through and coming forward. But as you can see, when I move it forwards, you can see the locating pin on the end of the arm there, the little piece of plastic what clips into the little groove on the end of this arm that runs through here. So now what we've got to do is remove this needle threader and slide it off this shaft, but you need to get the needle threader in the correct position, so just back from the foot to enable the needle threader now slide off the end of that shaft, and we're going to use 2 screwdrivers to unclip it and slide it off that shaft. Right, so now you can see that this part of the needle threader has to slide off this locating shaft, and the way to do it is to have 2 screwdrivers, one in between the needle threader so you can push it off the shaft, and the second one so that you can push the end of the locating piece of the threader up in the air and then slide it off the shaft. And it can be a bit fiddly till you get it right. Slide it up in the air and then put your needle thread in and start to slide it off the shaft, as you can see. Now this will slide off this shaft, but the main thing is make sure that this spring what's at the other side, you do not lose that spring. So basically now I'm holding on to the other end of the bar, and I'm going to slide the threader off the end of this shaft. This will slide off and come off into my fingers, as you can see there, or you can pull the pin out from this side. To reinsert this, when you've got it onto the end of the shaft, there are 2 pieces of metal. As you can see here, there's 2 bars. All it does is it slides on the back one first and locates onto the front one so that it's in the right orientation, and then to put it back on, it's just a simple process of putting it on the shaft, holding it in from the right hand side, sliding it on, and it will simply click and the end of the piece of plastic locates in the groove. If you don't think you've got it correct, just pull it forward so you can see the end. You can see this one's not sat down properly yet. Simply put your finger onto the piece of plastic, push it to the right, and it's clicked. It's gone back on correctly. So now we know that the new needle threader is back on in the correct position. Okay, so now we've got the new needle threader onto the shaft. We know it's locked on correctly. We can pull the needle threader down with the arm on the end, and we can see that it's clicked into the end of the piece of the metal part of the shaft. and that everything's nice and tight. Now, next thing to do now is to reinsert the needle, and then we will offer up the needle threader to the back of the needle to make sure it's going back through the eye. So we can move the needle threader back out of the way, and then I'm simply going to reinsert the needle. So I've got my needle Allen key screw to remove the needle. Simply put that into the screw that tightens the needle up, and don't drop your needle like I have. Needle goes back into the machine with the flat side to the back. Shove the needle as high up in the clamp as it will go and tighten the screw. Now with that all in place, we can now manually pull the needle threader down, and we can see that as it comes to the side of the needle, that the needle threader is going to run straight down the centre of the eye. Sometimes it can be slightly left or slightly right, and it needs adjusting. On this one it's perfectly fine. If the needle threader needed adjusting left and right, on the end of this arm here there's a locking Allen key. You let the Allen key go in the clamp, and then on the end is a standard screw thread. As you screw the screw in, it moves the needle threader away from you. As you remove the screw towards you or anti-clockwise, it moves the needle threader back to the right hand side. This one's perfect. As you can see, as it comes down, it comes up to the back of the needle, goes straight through the needle, no problem whatsoever. Okay, so basically when it's through the needle now, if you want to use a magnifying glass, you can see the peg is perfectly in line. And that's basically how to install the needle threader. Simple process now. Make sure the machine obviously is turned off. This one's on so I can use the light so I can see. Simply reinstall all the casings and turn the power back on and check the operation of the threader.